Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to Europe once again, and we're going to return to Romania, which these days has a very nice craft beer scene, and we're actually going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel a couple of times before, and these guys, I guess, are one of the kind of founding fathers of the Romanian craft beer scene. If people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are very solid all round. I've had some really good beers from them over the last wee while, and the beer we're going to have a look at today is a style that I don't believe I've tried from them before, and they are supposed to be very good at it, and this is supposed to be quite a nice beer actually. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to a place called Jilava, which is to the south of Bucharest, the capital city, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Hop Hooligans. So this particular beer is called Mental Wealth. It comes in at 8% ABV, and this is another New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Now, if memory serves me correctly, I've tried Imperial Stouts from these guys, barley wines. The last beer that we had was a Rauch beer, but I don't actually think I've had a straight up IPA from them, if memory serves me correctly. I've had a good few from Beretta, who are the other kind of founding father of the Romanian craft beer scene, at least the first ones that I've been exposed to that are getting their beers out there across Europe. But yeah, this should be a really interesting experience. This is one of the latest beers that Hop Hooligans have sent over here to Hong Kong, and it's got a hop product in it that is something I haven't encountered before. So yeah, this should be really quite interesting. But yeah, Mental Wealth, an 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA, from Hop Hooligans in Jilava to the south of Bucharest in Romania. Let's crack on with this one and see what it has in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Hop Hooligans before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Romanian playlist along with a number of other things, and that's being added to whenever we get the opportunity, which seems as if it's going to be fairly regularly here in Hong Kong, which I am quite happy about. So yeah, check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, and if you do get the chance to go to Romania and try some of their craft beers, I can tell you, you are certainly not going to be disappointed, and definitely cool to see another country jumping on the craft beer bandwagon. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Hop Hooligans once again, and I will apologise in advance for any bad Romanian pronunciations because I'm just not familiar with the language at all really. But yeah, Hop Hooligans, as I mentioned to you already, are based in Jilava, which is to the south of Bucharest, the capital city of Romania. Now the company has been active since 2016, and it was founded by Cristian Mihadinu and Mircea Georgescu. So the story of Hop Hooligans began when Cristi and Mircea teamed up with Petru Ion, who is the founder of Beer O'Clock, which was one of the first craft beer bars in all of Romania. But about a year after the launch of the brewery, Petra sadly died in a car accident in April of 2017. And after this, times proved to be really quite hard for the company. But thankfully, Cristian and Mircea managed to persevere, and things have gone very well for them since then. But they built a reputation for themselves early on by brewing a whole variety of different styles of beer, doing a lot of collaborations with other breweries around Europe, and then in 2018 they started canning their beers, and so they became the very first brewery in Romania to do so. And the following year they paired up with Beretta, who, as I mentioned, are one of the other kind of founding fathers of the modern Romanian craft beer scene, and they organised Haze Fest, which was Romania's very very first craft beer festival. But in September of 2020, they opened up their own tap room in Bucharest, and they've been working to increase the capacity of this brewery over the last few years. They have expanded it quite significantly from what I understand. But as of February 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 390 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I said, these guys do a variety of different styles. And in my experience with this brewery, pick a style of beer that you enjoy, give it a go, and the chances are you are not going to be disappointed. I've had some really, really good stuff from these guys. Probably my favourite beer from them actually was called Matur, which was this big barrel-aged barley wine, and it was just a monster. It was lovely, really, really good beer. So yeah, that beer is always going to stick in my memory. That I don't know if Hop Hooligans will ever top that in my mind, but still going to try their other beers as well. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Hop Hooligans for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So you can see the can is sweating a little bit because it's very warm here in Hong Kong at the moment. So I'm just going to wipe that sweat off the can. But yeah, you can see the artwork on this one is quite interesting. Mental wealth, all the flowers and the stars and the plants and stuff inside the body there. But just let you have a little look, you can see the Hop Hooligans symbol there. Mental wealth, as I said, tells you a little bit about the beer on the side. It's a plain silver top on the can there. This beer is a half litre. This cost me 90 Hong Kong dollars, if I'm not mistaken, which is about £9 sterling, somewhere in the region of €10. But for an 8% New England double IPA here in Hong Kong, that's a pretty solid price. You know, any European import at that price is pretty decent, I have to say. But yeah, it says on the side here, it's hard to make sense of all that's running around in your mind, but it's not great treating it as a garbage dump either. That multitude of colours, streaks and smears can be rounded up, turned into meteor splatters, and then into real building blocks, making up a cohesive portrait of hopefully yourself. Some pieces will be green and untainted, some will be threateningly red hot, some golden yet repressive, and hopefully a lot of serene blue ones. Some light, some heavy, some bursting out on top, some laying dormant quietly deeper. Your own personal, invaluable masterpiece. So yeah, quite a nice little thing. They're obviously paying tribute to making sure people have good mental health. But as I said, this beer is called Mental Wealth. It's kind of a collaboration with Freestyle Hops from New Zealand. I'll just put my head behind that so it zooms in properly, and you can see it says Hop Keef Double Dry Hopped Double IPA. So yeah, I did a little bit of research on this, and Hop Keef is a new product from Freestyle Hops in Nelson in New Zealand. It's kind of like a very concentrated cryo-like substance that they use for the hops, and basically it's a more concentrated lupulin oil, which is the good stuff that you want from the hops. So yeah, they're using that in here for the hopping side of the beer. But yeah, the malt base in this one is Heidelberg malt. Love that because I studied in Heidelberg. There's wheat, oat flakes, wheat flakes, chip malt. It's a very old type of German wheat, incidentally, if I'm not mistaken. And then golden naked oats in this one. But the hops are Motueka. I'm guessing that's Motueka pellets. And then there's Motueka and Nelson Sauvin Hop Keef varieties in this. It uses London Ale yeast number 3. Motueka and New Zealand, of course, and Nelson Sauvin are, of course, New Zealand hops. Motueka about 8% alpha acid. It gives you this lovely big kind of juicy limey sort of thing, and Nelson Sauvin is the classic New Zealand hop, 16% alpha acid, a bit of a monster, and it gives you that lovely white, green, grapey sort of gooseberry type character. But yeah, all in all, it's got the makings of a very good beer, so I think we should get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. Mental Wealth from Hop Hooligans in Jilava in Romania. Let's do this. There we go. A little bit excited when I opened up the can, but this one is fairly fresh. I do know that. The guys in Gerbeer were telling me this was fairly fresh. We'll just pour it carefully though so we don't get a massive amount of head. But yeah, an 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. And I tell you something, you can smell the Motueka and the Nelson off this as soon as you open it up. If you've if you're familiar with your hops at all, these two are very distinctive. So before the head disappears, you can see that this beer poured with about a half finger of a frothy and bumpy, I would say, perfect white head. It's got a little bit of a creaminess to it as well, but yeah, kind of medium-sized bubbles on the surface, a little bit foamier the further up that you go, but of course that is kind of laced with a slightly bigger bumpiness. But yeah, head has faded away to be a very thin layer. There's pretty much nothing apart from a little island on the side here, and you've got a wee ring just around the edge of the glass. But yeah, in terms of the colour of this beer, I would describe this one as being a very light sort of, it's like a very light kind of mango juice colour, to be honest with you, or like pineapple juice, something like that. I always like comparing the appearance of New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that's just what they remind me of. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour too. But yeah, you don't often have to care about those variables when it comes to IPAs of any description. The level of haze in this one for an 8%er is kind of about what you'd expect. It comes across as being a wee bit more soupy and gloopy, and remember, the level of haze in these beers depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. So it can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. It's not simply about how much, you know, the higher up the scale you go, the hazier the beer should be. Not always like that. But yeah, certainly does look quite good, this one, I have to say. Yeah, nothing untoward about the appearance of this beer. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head. But in terms of what you would expect for a New England hazy, it's pretty much on the money. So nothing else we need to say about that. Let's go on to the aroma section of the video then and see what we have here. Very curious about this. Ooh, yeah. So this is interesting. This is quite different to other IPAs that I've had in recent times. So for me, the hoppy side of this beer is very distinctive, because, you know, I know Nelson Sauvin, I know Motueka very, very well. But as I've said, when it comes to New England IPAs, there are 6 elements you need to think about with these. You have the kind of farmhousey, yeasty side of the beer, and you've got the rye-leaning, grainy side as well. Those are a bit more common in American-brewed New England IPAs, whereas elsewhere, you've also got, in addition to America, you've got the wheaty bitiness, the oaty creaminess, the barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things. First impression of this beer is that it's got quite a lot of barley malt to it. Not so much in the way of wheat, I would say. I don't think it's very wheat-leaning, although I'll say that and I'll change my mind later. But yeah, very barley malt leaning and very oaty leaning in a sense. But obviously, it has got chit in it, which is a very old type of... it's got wheat flakes and chit in it, which is a very old type of German wheat. And it's interesting because I've often said that European wheat is a bit more bitey in things than American wheat is. American wheat is very smooth, whereas the oats are drier, whereas European oats are more creamy, and the wheat is a bit more bitey. But it's really interesting because for me, this one comes across as very barley malty, and it's got a grainy bready character, which I suspect is the chit. And just from memory, chit always has a little bit more of a kind of grainy, crackery, white bready character. So certainly getting that out of this one. But yeah, for me, I would say more oaty and barley malt leaning in its aroma. But let's break that aroma down for you and describe it a wee bit more. But you've got quite a bright green component as well, and obviously these big kind of limey characters and things from the Motueka. And Motueka has been used in pellet form as well, so it will be slightly more dominant than the Nelson Sauvin as well. But yeah. But aroma wise, it is very, very nice. Quite different, as I say, to what I've had from other IPAs in recent times. So yeah, for me, the backbone of this beer, you've got that lovely, typical, fresh, white bready bread crust in there, and that comes out very, very nicely in this one. Really like that. So fresh, white bready bread crust in there, forming the backbone of the beer. Certainly, you've got a wee bit of like there is a little bit of a Jacob's cream crackery note to this one, but not overly much. And then you've got a lot of white bread, and like I said, the chit malt is giving, really humid in here, it's getting bit breathless almost, but yeah. The white bready character that you get out of this one has some really, really nice yeah, it's got some really nice sort of crackery, woody, grainy sort of character to it, and that, as I say, is the chip malt. So yeah, you've got this lovely, fluffy, but quite dense, crackery, grainy, white bready character in there. You can, I'm getting more and more of the wheat as I smell this one. Like I said, I was quite likely to change my mind on that point, but yeah, you can smell more of the wheaty character in this as well. It's got a little bit of wheaty bitiness in the back of the nose, which is interesting. And then, yeah, you've got that wheaty bitiness in there, the big smooth kind of malty character as well, and you've got a big smoothness and just a bit of bitiness from that wheaty character. Then above that you're starting to get the oats. The oats are very nice in this one because they come across as quite sort of smooth and creamy, but you have got a wee bit of dryness too. As I've said on the channel many a time before, oats are usually a very good indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. Generally speaking, the smoother and creamier they are, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. This beer is, it says before, this one was, it says consume this before the 11th of August 2024, and it looks like it was canned at the end of November. So we're drinking this beer when it's about 4 months old, and I think I got this one at the end of February, if I remember correctly. I haven't had this one all that long, but sorry, maybe more the middle of February actually. But yeah, the oaty character in this one certainly still has a bit of creaminess, but you are starting to get more dryness out of it, and it does have a wee bit of a kind of biscuity character coming out of it too, a little bit of that McVitie's digestive biscuit. Did it have golden promise? No, it was golden naked oats. I was going to say the biscuity note would make sense if it was golden promise in here. But yeah, aroma wise, this is very nice on the malty side of things. Let's go to the hoppy side of the beer then. As I said, it has a very, very bright green component, this one. And you have to remember there are 3 kinds of hoppings that you can do with IPAs. I don't know why I held up so many fingers there. But yeah, you've got 3 types of hoppings in IPAs. Early edition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil, that gives you mainly bitterness and a deeper, danker flavour and aroma. Late edition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, that gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and gives you a very bright green component in the aroma. And you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that gives you pretty much all flavour and aroma, and again a very bright green component. New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs use all 3, which is why they are kind of more bitter and things. But in this beer you're getting a hell of a lot of kind of bright floral aromaticity out of it, quite a bit of zesty grassiness as well actually, but you can smell the sort of oily nature of that green component too. And the hop keef, as I say, is quite similar to the cryo hops from what I've read, so that would make sense. You can smell there's a degree of oiliness to the green component in this one. So yeah, I really do like how the green component comes together in this beer. So I don't think there's much more to report on it than that, but yeah, nice floral aromaticity, some lovely grassy character as well, like we said, and the fruity side of things is very nice. So you have some nice kind of limey character in there, so lovely big sort of zesty limey note, and you've got that yeah, so lovely zesty limey character. You have, and that's the Motueka. It's quite juicy as well. I've always found Motueka was a little bit more juicy and oily than, for example, Equinaut from the US, which took a back seat when Motueka started to become a bit more prominent. But then, yeah, you've got that nice big sort of gooseberry, white green grapey thing coming out of this beer from the Nelson Sauvin. Nelson Sauvin is, of course, the classic New Zealand hop, and they've ramped up production of that a lot over the last years. But yeah, this is a really, really interesting beer, this one, from the aroma. So I'm just very curious to try it and see what it's all about now. So as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it, but I think we should try this one now. So yeah, this is Mental Wealth, an 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Hop Hooligans in Jilava, Romania. Love this brewery. Slanje, skål, cheers, or as they say in Romanian, hopefully I'm remembering correctly, Norok. Slanje. Oh, that's nice. Different. Definitely different. More of a citrusy, grassy, floral New England double IPA. But still, really quite nice. I have had a few IPAs like this over the years, but this one, it just feels like a while since I've had one like this. It's got this big sort of almost oily, the hop keef in this one's given the beer this really oily note, and it's sort of promoting the Nelson Sauvin flavours really interestingly actually. So yeah, I do really like how that just pieces together in this one. It is pretty interesting. Yeah, flavour wise, this beer is really nice. It's another very solid. It's another solid beer from Hop Hooligans. Is it going to be my favourite New England IPA that I'll have from them? I doubt it, to be honest. This one for me is quite, as I say, it's a little bit kind of oily and citricy leaning. I like it to be a little bit more balanced. I like there to be a wee bit of orange, a wee bit of tropical fruit and things as well. This one really is leaning more toward that kind of limey character. As I say, it is nice, and if you're into a more like floral and sort of citrusy, like limey citrusy New England IPA, you will enjoy this quite a lot, and it is good. But as I say, I think that Hop Hooligans probably will produce other ones that I'll think, oh yeah, that's, you know, this is kind of spot on. This one's good, as I say, but just the fruity character just needs to be a little bit more variety for me. Like putting a little bit of, you know, if we're talking New Zealand, you could put a little bit of like Raka or Riwaka, or, you know, one of the more tropical hops in this one, just to balance it out that wee bit more. But I guess what they're wanting to do is to show off this hop product, and probably it's only available with Motueka and Nelson Sauvin, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nectaron, of course, is coming on a little bit, but Nelson Sauvin and Motueka are probably the two most in-demand hops from New Zealand, the most widely used ones. So it kind of makes sense that this product uses both of those. But yeah, it is still a really nice one. It's got a nice kind of dry, bready character. I think the chip malt is showing up quite a lot for me in this one. So it's quite bready, it's quite floral, and then it's quite citrusy leaning, this one. So quite a different vibe to this New England compared to some other ones that I've had before. But let's break the beer down and describe it for you a little bit more in depth, as we always do. And I will say, it does grow on me the more that I drink of it. I do enjoy the sips more and more. But let's focus on that middle third of the palate then. So the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust in the base there, like a kind of fresh hedgehog roll. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, you're getting a little bit more of a kind of woody sort of thing coming out of this one. So yeah, there's a little bit of woodiness in there, and then above the bread crust there's a wee bit of Jacob's cream cracker. So yeah, you've got that bread crusty layer, the Jacob's cream crackery note. Yeah, fresh hedgehog bread crust, little bit of woody character in there, Jacob's cream cracker, and then you start to get all this bready character out of it. So yeah, the bready layer in this beer, it feels quite light and quite airy, but it's also got quite a bit of dryness to it as well. Like it has, it certainly has a wee bit of, it's got a little bit of a more kind of, I would say it's got a little bit of a more kind of like crackery, woody sort of note to it, and that's the chip malt. Chip malt gives you this really dry, white bready character, and that's quite apparent in this beer. So yeah, I do like how that pieces together in this one as well. The bready character is quite interesting, but you can certainly feel above that sort of chip malt, the barley malt, and the bready character in this one, you can certainly feel like a more bitey, wheaty character to the beer as well, particularly at the back of that middle third of your palate. The oaty side of this one, I was getting a lot more oats in the aroma than I am in the flavour. So yeah, definitely a lot more oaty character in the aroma than the flavour with this one. And that's quite interesting too. But yeah, just the way everything kind of pieces together in this one is really, really interesting. So yeah, you have a little bit of, how would you say, there's a little bit of a kind of, above the kind of wheaty, bitey character, you start to get some of the oats, so you can feel down the middle line of your tongue, it's got a wee bit of a more kind of porridgey, oaty sort of thing there. So you've got that nice dry kind of porridgey, oaty character. And then as you move further out from that, it's got a wee bit more of a kind of drier, oaty character as well, which I do quite like. So, yeah, more dense, creamy oats in there. Yeah, more kind of dense, creamy oats in there. And then, yeah, as you go out toward the edges of your palate, it gives you that little bit more of an oaty dryness. But in the dead centre of your palate, you can feel there is a little bit of like a Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing. So yeah, Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch, and a wee bit of a more McVitie's digestive biscuity type character as well. And yeah, I think that concludes everything we need to say about the malty side of this beer in the middle of your palate. So let's have a wee look at the let's have a little look at the back third of your palate then. As I've often said, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, pardon me, you get a little bit of, you can feel that sort of white bready character in the base from the barley malt and the chip malt, and then you can feel that more bitey wheat sitting above that. At the base of that back third of your palate, you've got a really nice kind of, you do get more of that, yeah, you definitely get more of that kind of drier, more grainy hedgehog bread crust. Then above that, you've got a wee bit of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker. Then you've got the white bready note sitting above that. So yeah, white bready character sitting above that with the sort of chip malt, you know, the crackery woody notes, and then the more kind of regular barley malt sitting above that. And you can feel a bit of the more bitey, wheaty character just creeping over the top of that, which is really nice. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is really interesting. But yeah, as I say, I do really like how all of this, the way that all of this just kind of pieces together, I think is really, really nice. So yeah, above all of that on the back third of the palate, you start to get the yeasty side of the beer. So the yeasty side of the beer for me, you can feel in the centre, it's got a nice dense brown bready, it's got a really nice kind of dense brown bready sort of thing in the middle. Then it's got a more kind of grainy, rusticy, woody, white bready character around the edge, and there you can feel bread crust around the sides as well. So yeah, the way that all of that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So definitely back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is very, very nice. Yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's got a little touch of herbal character, and as you push further forward toward the front corners of your palate, you can feel there's more and more floral aromaticity, and you can feel the oiliness because of the cryo in this one, for sure, because of that hop keef. But yeah, it certainly has the same oily characteristics you would expect of the hop cryo. So that's a really interesting perspective with this particular beer. So yeah, I would say on the front third of your palate, then, where you've got the fruity, around the front curve of your tongue, you certainly have a bit more zesty grassiness in this one too, and I think that's going to be from the Motueka pellets that they've put in here. But let's look at the front third of your palate. The border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there, white bread in the base, and the kind of wheaty character on top. Then the base of that front third of your palate, you've got the nice bread crust, the smooth white bread, and the more wheaty bitiness, and then above that you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, the way everything goes together in that sense, I think, is really, really nice. But the fruity side of the beer has grown on me more and more the more that I've drunk of this one. So the fruity character is actually quite simple in this one, to be honest with you. Like, you can feel that big, oily Nelson Sauvin, white green grape, gooseberry type character. That's the base of your fruity note, and then as you move into the front half of the front third of your palate, you get more of the kind of juicy sort of limey character from the you get more of the kind of juicy limey character coming out of the Motueka. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. It's, I say, very, very straightforward in terms of its fruitiness, and this beer, it is one that's kind of grown on me a little bit the more that I've drank of it. But I do like the fruity side of my New England IPAs to just have a wee bit more balance to them. As I say, this, I think I would enjoy this. I like the malty base of this one. I like that. I like the kind of hoppiness and things. But I think, yeah, maybe just a little bit of tropical fruit and a wee bit of orange in this one would have been a nice addition. But as I say, the whole point of this beer is to show off this hop product, which it does very nicely. So yeah, it's an interesting beer, this one, and I like beers that test my palate a little bit, and this one certainly has done that. So yeah, let's round off this review with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, top end to mid-bodied, carbonation's quite smooth. This beer is one of the drier New Englands I've had, so it has a wee bit of that creaminess, but a bit of dryness into the aftertaste, and it also has that little bit of, it also has that nice little bit of sort of, I would say, it's got a little bit of a more oily character to it as well. In terms of the IBUs in this beer, I would say that it's quite, I think it's a fairly standard, like 25-30 IBU beer, this one. The malt base, as we said, has a bit of dryness underneath, a bit of smoothness in the middle, and like a little touch of creaminess on top. But overall, the malty side of this beer is quite dry. The green component is quite oily, and the fruity side of this beer is quite oily, but it does have a wee bit of zestiness to it into the aftertaste as well. But all in all, a really interesting beer, this one. I've enjoyed it. I will say that straight away. I've enjoyed it, but I do think I will find IPAs from Hop Hooligans that I'll probably enjoy a wee bit more, just with a bit more complexity to the fruit. That's my only thing I can really say about this one. But yeah, interesting to learn a little bit more about this New Zealand Hop Keef product. I'm curious to see how, if that will catch on. So yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Mental Wealth, an 8% New England Hazy, Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Hop Hooligans in Jilava, Romania, back in Europe. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know your favourite beers from Hop Hooligans as well. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the near future. But until then, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, Norok, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao just now.